Hi, welcome back to the Spartan Journal podcast. I'm Matthew Mancini,
I'm Nate Jefferson.
and we are your new co-hosts for the upcoming season of the Spartan Journal. And we're also joined by our old host, Jake Karanima, and our good friend, Andrew Long. And today we're going to be talking about cryptocurrency and all of the amazing thing that's been going around with it. But before we get into that, let's talk about ourselves a little bit and what we've been up to. We can start with Nate Jefferson. So, Nate, what have you been up to recently within the past couple weeks?
And first thing first, I missed you guys. So glad we could be back on the podcast, making awesome content, creating awesome videos. For me, I just actually moved out to Indianapolis for an internship. It's been an awesome experience so far. I actually wrote a blog post about it last week, so go ahead and give it a check out and let me know what you think about that. But basically, it's been awesome to finally put myself in the industry, right? We've been learning so much about the industry, watching videos about the industry, reading about the industry, and now like I get some real world application. Like you can't beat that stuff, right? So being able to be in the position that I am in now, I'm just trying to maximize on it, and I'm looking forward to it, honestly. So how's everything been for you guys?
It's been great. I just started up my internship here about 4 weeks ago. So I'm about a month in as of right now, and I've been loving it. I've been learning a lot. I've been living in East Lansing still, and I only have to drive about 15 minutes to get to work. So that's a plus. So I don't have to move out anywhere, get a new apartment or anything like that. But like you were saying, Nate, that we finally got our step in the industry, right? These internships. We've been reading and learning a lot as of the late, but now we actually get to put it to work and learning a lot new software, learning from our lead advisors. That's what it's really about. So, I mean, I'm just really excited to be back with you guys, and I'm ready to kick off season 2 of the SJ podcast.
Sorry about that, guys. Thanks for having me on again. Want to get as many of these podcasts back in before I head off to Denver out in July. So I appreciate you guys having me. Really haven't been working all that much, but I appreciate kind of staying in the loop with all this kind of thing, transitioning out, working with our new Spartan Journal producer, Hikaru. It's going to be fantastic. Super knowledgeable guy. Also, just been reading a lot. I'm halfway through Benjamin Graham's Intelligent Investor. Been sitting by the pool. Feels good. So, Matt, let's kick it off. What questions you got for us?
So yeah, what's been going on with crypto? As you guys might have noticed last week, it took a nosedive. It went down about 40% of its top, and it's pretty crazy. And I've just been watching it. When I was in Florida this past week, I was looking at it. And I'm like, oh, crypto went down. Like, look at that. So, what do you guys think about it?
What I'm seeing is a lot of people getting a little scared with the potential of regulation sitting in, right? A potential regulation sitting in. And it's inevitable. Like it was inevitable from the jump. Just understanding crypto, understanding how freely it can be used, the things it can be used for, you have to understand regulation was going to come regardless of what people thought about it, right? Because you have so many things being transacted with cryptocurrencies, specifically say Bitcoin, that potentially can induce some illegal activities, right? If you understand that piece, then you have to also know that with that, the government is not going to let that slide, whether that's the American government or the Chinese government. They're going to put a stop to that. And China has been the big guy, the bad guy for the people that own a lot of crypto assets in that specific situation. I think they said they're going to start cutting down on a lot of miners who are mining the chain or the Bitcoin itself. Mining still is really confusing to me, but basically you need mining to happen in order for Bitcoin to be successful, essentially. And a lot of the mining happens over in China. And so if they cut down the mining over in China, then Bitcoin can be a problem for those that hold it. So you've seen a pretty steep plummet in its price. I think it's floating around like 30K right now, and that's from like its high of 60. So a lot of people are a little on edge right now, but they also, I feel like, should have known from the jump that regulation was bound to come. And I feel like you're seeing from the market that people are just realizing that regulation is going to hit.
Yeah, and the you're talking about China. It doesn't surprise me that China is the first country to really go hit towards regulation because they really want to control the financial assets and the financial money that's running through their country. And it's really funny too because I don't know if you guys recall this, but episode 3 of the first season of the Spartan Journal podcast was about Bitcoin when it surged past 50,000. And I went back and I was listening to some of the stuff that we were saying, and we were talking about regulation. When's it gonna hit? When are they going to really take a look and put a hard stop on a lot of these different things? So I believe, and where is this at? The Treasury Department announced that they will require any transfer worth $10,000 or more to be reported to the IRS, mainly just because of like tax implications, if that's correct. So, do you guys think that regulation would bring any positive effects? Because it kind of legitimizes it. You know, if the government recognizes it as a form of financial investment or currency and they regulate it, more people would be able to access it. But it kind of deters from the whole appeal of it because everyone appreciated Bitcoin and these cryptocurrencies because they're decentralized and they're non-regulated. So I wanted to get your guys' take on that.
Yeah, I definitely think that there will be some good positives to it because there's a lot of tax evasion that's going on. I mean these people are making these transactions and they're completely tax free or at least somewhat. And I think that that's a huge source of revenue that's being like that the government just isn't gaining. So I think that's definitely a positive.
Yeah, I think anytime the government isn't profiting off something new like that, I think there is incentive for more regulation, right? And we see it in China. Um, I don't know if you were mentioning, Nate, about mining. I don't know if you guys heard about the story that happened in April where like a Chinese coal mine flooded. Um, and it was like in their northwest region of China, a very rural area. And what happened was about 30% of all like mining like halted in China, which led to about 33% of the total equity of Bitcoin being like shut off. So it was like blacked out. Um, so this just goes to show that mining, it takes a toll on the environment for one, but we need to find more renewable ways to do this. And I think regulation through the government is one way we can do that, right? Just because there is so much more, um, strain to the environment when we do exchange these cryptocurrencies. And with government regulation backing that, yes, there will be taxes implemented, but it will be more structured, right? There's not really too much structure when it comes to cryptocurrency with, exchanging it. But, China, India, United States, regulation will come. I know, Andrew, you mentioned that episode 3, we were predicting that this would come. And, I'm surprised it even took this long for it to happen. But, I'm just excited for what's to come when it comes to regulation. I know some people that, made a lot of money off Bitcoin or cryptos in general probably aren't the biggest proponents of regulation, but regulation comes with everything, right? The government's going to have a say in everything.
Yeah, I definitely think that I think it'll strengthen the applicability of cryptocurrencies, but this will also deter away from the meme stock movement. Some of these less popular ones, these little tiny boys, but everyone's going crazy about them. It's kind of wild. But I still think that the major players, Bitcoin, Ethereum, those ones are going to stay pretty solid amidst the regulation. And the people that have those long positions recognize that, and that's why there was this deep fall with the Chinese regulators. But a lot of people are still holding out and sticking with it.
You talk about meme stocks, and we all know a big reason why meme stocks are popping is really around like one guy, one special guy, right? And it kind of hits off your point too, Jake, when we talked about environmental issues. Like, did you see why he's stopping the acceptance of Bitcoin?
Yeah, I was looking at a statistic where it's like it costs twice as much to mine $1 worth of Bitcoin as it is to mine $1 worth of gold, copper, or silver. So Yeah.
And you're trying to be the person that's helping the environment. You're cutting down on carbon emissions with your electric vehicle cars. You're trying to change the world, be the captain of Mr. Environment, right? But at the same time, you're investing your money and your resources into an asset that's completely against that, right? At least for the time being, right? It could change in the future, but it's counterintuitive. And so you would think that he would have somebody on his team to be like, this is definitely an asset that we should look into, but it doesn't really align with your values, right? And this is the richest man in the world. Like, I don't know now, his stock has plummeted a little bit, but potentially one of the richest men in the world, right?
Hey, Nate, also for the viewers out there that aren't familiar with this gentleman, would you mind saying his name?
Oh,
yeah, I was gonna say that. I was like, we know who you're talking about.
We got you.
Musk. Elon
Musk, ladies and gentlemen.
Elon Musk. So with Elon Musk, what happened was basically he brought on Bitcoin. He used some of his money from his cash reserves to buy Bitcoin, right? Because he understood the value of Bitcoin, right? And he understood that several other firms put their cash reserves into Bitcoin and, just went up from there because Bitcoin has value, unlike fiat currency, which that's what the cash reserves are in. That's his opinion, right? And so what I'm saying is, if you're in this position to where you're a very wealthy individual, have very intelligent people around you, you're trying to make a change, you would think somebody would be on his team and say, hey, this doesn't align with what you're trying to get at. But instead, Twitter fingers going crazy, he's tweeting, sending everything through the moon, and also investing into things at the same time. It's just like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, you invest, I think it was over $1.5 billion into Bitcoin. And then suddenly you're like, oh, snap, this is bad for the environment. Yeah, I'm going to stop this. Like that, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I think that that's kind of just that shows that it isn't really going to become an institutional investment, because unless you have like a CEO that is very involved in the company and also has like a big influence, then it's not really going to, and you have that one person that's pushing to invest in crypto, you're not going to have the whole company that's going to move towards crypto, because crypto in general is just a super volatile asset. I mean, you have these people are looking into pension funds, insurance funds that are being like, oh, do we want to invest in crypto? And they're not looking towards that, because it's just, they're looking for the most stable asset possible. And crypto just isn't that. And everybody knows that it's not like that. That's the whole point of it. It's, to the moon, it shoots up and then it shoots down, which is good for, the retail investors, but for a lot of institutional investors, they're just not looking for that right now.
Yeah, I don't know, guys, if you guys saw when Trevor Lawrence signed his bonus for becoming like the #1 overall draft pick, his entire bonus was paid all in crypto, all in Bitcoin. And I see that with a lot of athletes now. Like they can choose to get their like salaries paid in crypto.
I did not hear that. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's dope.
And also, Nate, kind of going back to what you were saying about Elon, I don't think it's uncommon. Like when you say those things, like it's not uncommon for at least big CEOs or big corporate entities to say one thing and do the next. I don't think that's a crazy jump and a skip across what is uncommon. Plus, this is Elon Musk we're talking about. This is a guy that's trying to get people to vacation on Mars,
But that's the thing, like he thinks so far ahead of the game that you would think this little detail that you could find on a Google search, right? Like this is like, when you look at the pros and cons of Bitcoin, it's probably like the third con in, right? You got how the government can't track it. So a lot of illegal activity is happening. And the carbon emissions are through the roof, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to be a company that has like I think it's like neutral or zero carbon emissions for the company. Well, that's kind of going against your mission, like your main mission. Like those are two things that are like very obvious to me. And I don't understand why that wasn't obvious to him, especially to put 1.5 billion. Like, think about the amount of research that you have to do before you even put like 100,000 into something, right? Like you personally, right? Imagine you then putting 1.5 billion, like that's your company's capital reserves that you need in case something happens. you're not just going to freely put that into something. Like, you're going to do research about that. So like, to me, like, that doesn't make sense.
Here's the follow-up question, I would say. So do you think that people make investments that go against their morals in order to make money?
Yes. That's what I was gonna say. I'm sorry. But like I think he wasn't doing it. I think he knew that the whole carbon. I think he knew that from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
He was jumping on the bandwagon. Elon Musk got into crypto right before it hit its peak. And then right when it's starting to plummet, he happens to know this.
But that's the thing.
Khan.
He really started the plummeting. Like, after he made that statement,
exactly.
it dropped like 5K. So like, that's what I'm saying. Like, why out of nowhere come up with that statement? Like,
everywhere.
You feel me?
All
like,
over the place.
It doesn't.
I get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying.
It's an excuse. He's doing it, because it's like, right now let's start selling it off, and he probably made a huge profit from that too.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. Like, what's your real reason for doing this? Because one, like, the whole Bitcoin movement in 2021 probably has been as hyped up as it is now because of him. Same thing with Dogecoin. Same thing with some of these other meme stocks, right? Because of the hype he's playing into it, right? But we're at a point now that out of nowhere, he's just like, oh no, I take back what I said. No. It turned out that this actually isn't what I thought it was, despite this being something that is obvious to the everyday person. Like, there was nothing like he had to dig into extremely deeply to be able to find out that it's not good for the environment, right? This is basic information. So like, for me, it's just like, okay, you're kind of manipulating like these people that don't have the time to be able to invest into the education to be able to understand these things.
They're more speculative.
Definitely. And because of your presence, they trust you. Like, you're the richest man in the world. Whatever the richest man in the world does, I mean, it should be successful. So if you come out with something if you come out being enthusiastic about something, right, and then everybody hops on board, and then suddenly you back out for something that seems so obvious, like, that doesn't make sense to me. And like, again, like, I hate to say it, but like, was he just looking to make a short-term profit? Like, was he looking to day trade off his capital reserves? And we can't really say day trade. I mean, we could, because he did sell some of his Bitcoin, or did he just stop it? Because I thought he did sell some of it, and then he's just not accepting any more of the Bitcoin.
So I do believe that Elon has a very long position when it comes to cryptocurrencies. I believe that he believes it's the future. He's very invested in it. And one of the articles that we were doing during the research, he says that he has decided not to do it, but as soon as mining transitions are more sustainable. So maybe this is a postponing period until things become more sustainable. I don't know what that looks like, or the process that would be before the mining process becomes more sustainable, because I think that's going to take a couple years, because it's a very extensive process that's energy consumption.
Yeah, that's a very good point. There's around 70 they use around 70% of all Bitcoin is mined using coal, right? And that it is the biggest pollutant of fossil fuels, right? And I think it was probably the board of directors told Elon, he's like, this is not great for your image, right? You're investing in a cryptocurrency that goes against what people think of you, like your beliefs, right? And I think once there's a net zero crypto, or something like Ethereum's about to move into, which is called proof of stake, which uses around like less than 0.1% of the energy needed to run Bitcoin at the moment. So they're moving in the right direction, right?
Okay.
But if Ethereum can move to proof of stake theoretically, so can Bitcoin, right? So I think it takes time, right? It's kind of a new sector, a new industry, and it's more about pumping out as much money as possible, right? You're just trying to get profit, but there just needs to be a more, a more incentivized for non-energy hungry people, right?
ESG,
and more
ESG
specialized
investors,
hardware,
100%.
right? Yeah, especially the ESG topic that we've really been pushing as of late, right, with our podcast.
Definitely.
So what do you guys, have you guys heard about this proof of stake, or what are your thoughts of Ethereum, right? Ethereum's the second largest crypto in the world, and they seem a little bit more progressive than even Bitcoin at the moment.
think it's much better. I think it definitely, with the whole sustainability aspect, you definitely need to invest in something. 'Cause that's the whole point of crypto. It's online so that you don't use paper and you don't use all of these different resources to make physical money. So I think that definitely like adds on to the point. So
It's another thing that was really interesting is that a lot of the people I know that aren't very interested in investing or maybe very a leftist that are kind of deter away from the capitalistic viewpoints and that sort of thing, they're very interested in Ethereum. It's really big in art communities, and it's really big on like those sort of platforms because they're using it as a medium for artists and people to make money. So that's the one thing that surprised me, was that it's expanding in different sort of groupings, and I think it's it's the one that I'm going to be keeping the closest eye on personally.
there's also the idea that I think Nate touched on it earlier, whether or not Elon Musk sold his stake in Bitcoin. I don't know whether or not he did, but I know that he did stop allowing people to purchase Teslas in Bitcoin. And I think that's kind of a interesting point, because just in general, people have talked about like, what if you go to the grocery store or something and you're going to use Bitcoin to buy your groceries? You walk into the store with $100 worth of Bitcoin, and you might go up to the cash register and now it's worth only $70. What do you do then? Because it's just so volatile. And I think when you look at, you can't buy your groceries in stocks, you can't buy your groceries with other forms of assets, but maybe that's kind of different when it relates to cryptocurrency. What do you guys think about that? Do you think we'll be able to increase transactions and stuff like that with cryptocurrency, or do you think it's, maybe not the best option?
I think that's going to come with the federal regulations that are coming with. I forget the acronym of what it's going to be called, but it's like the something like that. But they're developing within the Treasury a federally mandated cryptocurrency. I could see down the line that being very applicable once it has more control and it's less volatile.
Definitely. And I think, speaking about currencies or cryptocurrencies, I think China created their own currency or digital currency that's backed by the yuan. And I'm pretty sure the US is on the same track to be able to make that happen soon. Have you guys seen stuff about that?
Yeah, Tether is they call them stable coins, where it's kind of, because cryptocurrency isn't backed by anything. It's backed by, the blockchain technology, but you have like Tether is backed by the dollar. You have another one, I think Coinbase made, that's also backed by the dollar or other derivatives or something, which it's pretty interesting. I think that's another interesting point, is like, crypto is not really backed by anything. It's just like, what value does it really have? And I know we've talked about this before, but how does it retain value?
Yeah, you mentioned Tether. Actually, I've did a little bit of research regarding Tether. Like they have it's like $50 to $60 billion worth of assets, but only 3% are in cash reserves. So that it's backed by the U.S. dollar, right? It's like one Tether is worth $1. But then when people go to sell it, where no one's going to get this money back, right? Around 96% of the people won't be getting their money back, right? So that like Tether, I don't know. I have questions around Tether and its legitimacy, like long-term legitimacy. I don't know. Have you guys, Matt, have you done any research on Tether? I know it's relatively new to me, at least. Have you done any research regarding that?
Yeah, I did a little bit. I looked into, I think the whole point behind Tether isn't like, you can gain interest on it, you can use it to lend money, but I think the biggest point about Tether is it's like a way for people to pull out of the crypto market while remaining in crypto, if that makes sense. Like, let's say Bitcoin is just starting to drop. Instead of pulling your money out and taking cash out, you're just putting into Tether or one of these other stable coins, and then you can keep it in the crypto market. And then when it starts to go up, you can just convert it back, and it's easier and it's quicker. Like, that's the whole point of it, I think.
So it's not so much like exchanging it for like the US dollar. It's more just exchanging it on the crypto market. Let's say if it goes up just a tad, that's when you can just exchange it for another crypto. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It's basically like a treasure. It's like comparing it to like a treasury bill versus like a stock, you know? Once you get put into a treasury, it kind of just keeps its value, but you're still not owning cash. And then you can just transfer that to a stock once those stocks start gaining value. So it's pretty good. I mean, I think it's a good like safe investment if someone's kind of scared of the volatility of the market, the crypto market.
So
That's
I got
really
a question for you guys. Have you or will you buy any more Bitcoin or Ethereum?
Yes. It's at a huge discount right now.
Huge discount.
Huge discount. Like,
but it's just all based on who you ask, because somebody could be like, I told you, like it was bound to fail. Like, it's time. This is my proof here. And other people can be like what you're saying, hey, it's discounted. Let's get this money.
because it's not going anywhere. Like, let's be honest. Like crypto's here to stay. I don't think I think the biggest thing with crypto is that people don't realize that a lot of these like weird cryptocurrencies, like no one really invests in them. Like half them on Coinbase, I don't even know. But like, I think Andrew Long said that he was reading Intelligent Investor when Benjamin Graham, when he says like, oh, the intelligent investor, when the stock market goes down, he doesn't think about selling, he thinks about buying.
Yeah.
Because that's you know, like you said, you buy it at a discount. You know, you're getting a steal. So,
What about you guys?
Yeah, I'm it's tricky, man. It's hard to break past that. I have not purchased cryptocurrencies yet. I've just been watching on the sidelines, keeping an eye. It's mainly I'm having a hard time breaking through that wall, even though we're doing all that research. I think I'm waiting to see how this all plays out with the regulators and how the U.S. responds with the tax implications before I commit to going in.
You know,
but if I do,
money, man. You know,
that's a great. I mean, you're right. But
you're not wrong.
You're not wrong. But I think if I'm going either way, I'm probably looking closer to Ethereum just because of the applications that can be built upon it. And we were talking about that when we got together for the golf outing.
Yeah. And for those that don't understand Ethereum, basically think of Ethereum as a base layer application that allows other applications to be built on top of it, using the base layer application to like fuel it essentially. And that's all Ethereum is.
Yeah. So Nate, didn't you do a story on Top Shot NFTs and where that's going?
Not Top Shot. I think that was somebody else. I did.
You doing soccer cards?
Yeah, so rare soccer cards, and that's in the NFT space. And so, you know, you've been hearing a lot about NFTs and how crazy the NFT market is, and there are definitely a lot of NFTs that are overvalued, 100%. What I say, and it goes with cryptocurrencies, is whatever ones that have the utility, those will be the ones that stay from a longevity standpoint. I was talking to my guys about this the other day, and right now you see a lot of people with big social media followings creating NFTs, right? They're creating NFT, do a little cool little stick figure drawing and sell it for 10,000. So 100 of those. Exactly, you know, and that's where people are like, hey, you know, this NFT thing is hype, you know, it's bound to pop. It's just a bubble. And from that point of view, definitely, because all that's geared towards is maximizing on something that's trendy at this given moment in time, and then maximizing off your brand, right? But when the fans start to realize, hey, you know, he's not really doing this because I'm getting some type of incentive out of it, really is just happening because he's trying to make money, and he's trying to make money off of me, then people are just going to step away and be like, okay, I don't want to be a part of this. But then if you look at things like in my particular situation, like So Rare, something that has utility, something that solves a problem that I've been looking to be solved, then that's when we're like, okay, now we can get into something. And that's the basis of, you know, whether it's an NFT or a business, like the businesses that are able to solve people's problems efficiently, right? And like really help people, those will be the ones that are in it for the long haul. The ones that are just out there to make money, they're going to be out of here sooner or later.
AKA meme stocks. And I mean, not meme stocks too, but meme crypto, you know. And I was curious, I wanted to get your guys' take on this because we kind of we were talking a little bit about it, but Dave Portnoy he said, I'm going to stick my name on SafeMoon. What do you guys think of that? Did you guys hear about that?
I didn't. What did he say?
So picture this. You got Dave Portnoy, president of Barstool, sitting at a table with a bunch of hats with all of the meme cryptocurrencies on it. And he's going around picking up the hats. Which one am I going to pick? Which one am I going to pick? He says, he put $40,000 into SafeMoon. He said, this is going to be my meme stock. And he followed up with it saying, I don't know anything about this. And that just really speaks to sort of the market that it is right now and how crazy that people are willing to commit. I have not seen the results of where SafeMoon is at right now, but I have to imagine with Barstool's following and sort of the culture that's going on right now in investing with retail investors, that they're going to be following him in that sort of capacity.
Yeah, I saw this on my Twitter timeline. I think it was last week, where it was like Diplo, Dave Portnoy, and a bunch of other celebrities were all like getting behind SafeMoon. And Dave Portnoy even mentioned that it was a dump, like using to sell it eventually, right? Pump and dump. It's gonna be a pump and dump, right? All these meme stocks. So, I mean, he's just trying to make a quick buck, right? I think that's what a lot of these influencers are doing.
Yeah. Can I also? Oh yeah, go ahead, Nate.
I was just gonna say, like, that's a prime reason like why regulation is needed, not specifically with crypto, but just understanding like this is more like a casino than an actual stock market where you build wealth, right? And it's starting to get that perception. And people or organizations like the SEC, like they're starting to recognize that. I think Gary Gensler, the SEC chairman.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he was basically talking about this exact situation. Well, not this exact situation, but just regarding the easy market manipulations that are kind of legal, but kind of legal at the same time, but not illegal enough to get you locked up in prison.
Legal, like, no legal.
Exactly. So like, we're working on a plan to be able to cut down on this because it's a problem. Like it needs to be a little bit safer for the everyday investor to be able to use, because right now it's a madhouse. It's a madhouse.
I also want to speak on Elon Musk and SNL. I don't know if either of you guys watched that episode and how that created a dip in Dogecoin. It was so bad it was good. I liked his monologue, and then he went on Weekend Update, and there was this whole bit and banter about Colin Jost was asking him, what is Dogecoin? He's like, oh, it's a cryptocurrency that's being leveraged to create wealth for those who don't have access to it. And they kept asking him, what is Dogecoin? He kept giving these grand explanations of what Dogecoin is. And then by the end of the skit, they look, okay, but really, what is Dogecoin? And Elon looks at him and said, it's a hustle. It's a hustle. And then immediately it dipped. And it's just that those are the types of things that kind of go with these mean cryptocurrencies that just kind of amazes me.
It is. It's a pump and dump. And I just looked at SafeMoon's price and it went down by 31% today. So
oh wow.
Yeah, it is. It's a way for rich people to get richer, and then once they're kind of over it, they sell it and they still make a profit from it because they believe in cryptocurrency, but they don't believe in it's like stocks, the stock market. Even after, the roaring 20s, whatever, the stock market was never going to go away. It was here to stay. But there were certain stocks that did go. There's always stocks that get off the stock market, just like cryptocurrencies. There's always cryptocurrencies that ultimately fail. So.
Yeah, so you were mentioning like market manipulation, right? Depending on your terminology of market manipulation, I don't think we've seen as much this year, or as much in the past as we have seen this year, right? There was a lot in the .com bubble, right? But then all these influencers that are getting involved in crypto just to skyrocket the price, right? We saw this with the meme stocks where Robinhood like halted trading, right? Where there was some form of market manipulation, but it never really, like became of anything, right? I know the SEC is probably still looking into it, but I think that's part of the reason why crypto is so volatile, right? It outperformed the S&P 500 by 10 times, right? Mm-hmm. So I think with speakers like Elon Musk, Dave Portnoy, I think Bitcoin just surged way too quickly than it needed to. It was way too bullish than it needed to be in the past year, and jumped to like numbers that we didn't predict, right? And I think that's why we're seeing this 30% decrease every year per se, right? There's been 30% dips in the past 5 years for Bitcoin, right? So it is a very volatile asset, but this also comes into play with market manipulation, how influencers promote Bitcoin, promote SafeMoon, Dogecoin. So I just think it's a lot of people are creating too many cryptos at the moment that don't need to be doing that. And I think that we need to first start with regulation, and then comes more cryptos, right? If you just keep promoting all these random cryptocurrencies, I think that's not healthy for the market, right? Because, the market's never seen anything like this. And I just don't think it's a safe move right now to be, you were mentioning my take on crypto. If I had crypto, and I sold it a long time ago, I had crypto back in 2017. I had Bitcoin, and earlier this year, I was actually talking to like some other guys on WMA, like Justin and those guys, and they got out earlier this year too. So I don't think I see myself really investing in crypto in the future. Maybe once the market restabilizes, because I just think we're way too bullish at the moment, and I'm just waiting for it to kind of even out before I get back in.
When the gambling man says he's out of crypto, it's a scary market at the moment.
If you enjoyed the discussion, please like and share the podcast on Apple and Spotify. The Spartan Journal podcast is part of Michigan State University's Wealth Management Association, a student organization whose goal is to inspire the next generation of financial advisors. The Spartan Journal news team releases a newsletter every Monday morning comprised of financial literacy and the week's market updates. Feel free to follow us on social media at msuwma and check out our website at msuwma.com.
Anything heard on the MSU WMA podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be considered as investment advice.